The Voth came to enslave humanity. Our response was simple: death to the Voth. Vincent Kennedy watched through binoculars as the gigantic Voth spacecraft emerged from the clouds, skimming Earth's atmosphere. The black hull menacingly reflected moonlight, casting eerie shadows over the quiet Colorado mountains. A sinking feeling gripped Vincent's gut. This was an alien invasion. And only 35 years old, the retired Navy SEAL was humanity's first line of defense. Voth Emperor Izar clenched his scaled fist as he stood on the bridge of his flagship, the V's Dominator. For too long, the prey animals called humans had multiplied unchecked, ignorant of the Voth Empire's might. No longer. Today, Earth would fall, and the human pests would submit as slaves, or be exterminated. Izar turned to his scarred general and nodded. It was time. 100 assault carriers shimmered into visibility as their cloaks disengaged, appearing suddenly over the human cities, guns primed to annihilate all resistance. 12 Voth scouts marched through the woods toward Vincent's secluded cabin, plasma rifles at the ready. Vincent checked his own weapon cache and gritted his teeth. These reptilian freaks had made a grave error, daring to threaten Earth. He would send a message, written in Voth blood: humans would never bow to alien overlords. As the first scout came into view, Vincent smiled coldly. Let the Voth have their technological toys. Humans had something better, the will to fight, and fight he would to his last breath. For if Vincent failed here, mankind was doomed to an eternity of alien slavery. The first Voth raised its sidearm. Vincent squeezed his trigger. The war for Earth had begun. The Voth corpses lay sprawled where they fell, Vincent's bullets having pierced their scaly hides with deadly precision. The alien scout party had never stood a chance. But Vincent knew this was only the beginning. He gathered as much of the Voth's advanced weaponry and equipment as he could carry and sped off towards the Pentagon, hoping against hope that Earth's military leaders would heed his warning before it was too late. Vincent burst into Admiral Blackwell's office, his arms laden with alien plasma rifles and battle armor. The grizzled old sailor looked up from his desk, his eyes widening as he took in the sight before him. "What in God's name is all this, Kennedy?" Blackwell demanded. "Proof, sir. Proof that we're about to be invaded by a hostile alien force. I just took out a Voth scouting party near my cabin. These are their weapons." Blackwell picked up one of the rifles, turning it over in his hands. His face paled as he realized the implications. "Dear Godwit, we have to act fast. Initiate the Earth Defense Protocol immediately." Within minutes, the world's militaries were on high alert. Soldiers rushed to their posts, missile silos opened, and orbital weapons platforms hummed to life. But even as humanity prepared for war, the Voth struck. Assault carriers decloaked above cities across the globe, disgorging thousands of reptilian warriors armed with advanced plasma weapons. Human forces fought back bravely, but were quickly overwhelmed by the Voth's superior technology. In New York, 500 Voth soldiers and 20 plasma tanks carved a swath of destruction through Manhattan, crushing the NYPD and National Guard units that tried to stop them. Similar scenes played out in London, Moscow, Beijing. Earth's greatest cities fell like dominoes. Amid the chaos, Vincent led a hand-picked team of the world's most elite soldiers, studying the captured Voth equipment for any weakness they could exploit. If they couldn't find a way to level the playing field, and soon, humanity was doomed. As Vincent's team pored over the captured Voth technology, a breakthrough emerged. Dr. Samantha Chen, a brilliant physicist, discovered that the Voth's energy shields operated on a specific frequency, one that could be disrupted by a precisely calibrated electromagnetic pulse. "If we can generate a strong enough EMP at the right frequency, we might be able to punch through their shields," Chen explained, excitement in her voice. "It could give our weapons a chance to do some real damage." Vincent nodded, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. "How soon can we have a working prototype?" "Give me 48 hours, Chen replied, already sketching out designs on her tablet. 2 days later, Vincent held the first portable EMP device in his hands. It was a sleek, cylindrical object about the size of a thermos, with a simple trigger mechanism. Chen had outdone herself. "We'll need to plant these in strategic locations around the city," Vincent said, turning to his team. "If we can knock out their shields and weapons, even temporarily, it could turn the tide." The mission was risky, but they all knew what was at stake. Under the cover of darkness, Vincent and his team infiltrated the Voth-occupied New York City, planting EMP devices at key points near enemy strongholds and troop concentrations. As dawn broke, Vincent stood atop the ruins of the Empire State Building, a detonator in hand. With a deep breath, he pressed the button. A series of bright blue flashes lit up the city as the EMP devices activated, sending out invisible waves of electromagnetic energy. The effect was immediate. Voth shields flickered and died, their weapons sputtering uselessly in their hands. The human resistance surged forward, armed with conventional firearms and a fierce determination to reclaim their city. The battle raged for days. The streets of New York transformed into a war zone. Buildings crumbled under the onslaught of bullets and explosives, fires spreading unchecked through the rubble. But inch by bloody inch, the humans pushed the Voth back. In London, word of the New York victory spread like wildfire. Jack Coleman, a former SAS operative, rallied a group of civilians and led a daring raid on a Voth armory. They managed to steal a plasma tank, turning the aliens' own weaponry against them. Coleman and his impromptu army swept through the city, destroying Voth positions and liberating hundreds of human prisoners. Similar stories of resistance and defiance emerged from occupied cities around the globe as humanity fought back with everything they had. But the war was far from over. In orbit, the Earth Defense Force clashed with the Voth fleet in a titanic battle. The orbital weapons platforms, armed with nuclear missiles and high-powered lasers, scored some early victories, taking out several Voth assault carriers. But the aliens' advanced shielding technology proved difficult to crack, and the tide began to turn. The EDF fought valiantly, but they were outgunned and outnumbered. For every Voth ship they destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. The battle devolved into a bloody stalemate, both sides taking heavy losses with no end in sight. On the bridge of the VIS Dominator, Emperor Izar watched the battle unfold with a mix of anger and grudging respect. These humans were proving to be far more formidable than he had anticipated. But no matter. He would crush their resistance, even if it meant reducing their cities to ashes. Izar turned to his general, his eyes narrowing. "Prepare the Omega weapon. It's time we showed these primates the true power of the Voth Empire." As the Voth onslaught intensified across the globe, Vincent received an encrypted transmission from a resistance cell deep in the Amazon rainforest. The message spoke of a hidden Voth research facility, rumored to house a powerful new weapon capable of turning the tide of the war in the aliens' favor. Without hesitation, Vincent assembled a team of his most skilled and trusted soldiers. Maria Ortega, a sniper with a reputation for never missing a shot, and Marcus Johnson, a demolitions expert who could make anything explode with a bit of C4 and some duct tape, were the first to volunteer. The journey through the dense jungle was fraught with danger. Voth patrols, armed with advanced sensors and cloaking technology, seemed to lurk behind every tree. Genetically engineered predators, all fangs and claws and hunger, stalked the team as they pushed deeper into the rainforest. But Vincent and his soldiers were no strangers to adversity. They fought their way through the Voth's defenses, taking down patrols with precision and skill. Maria's sniper rifle cracked like thunder, dropping alien warriors before they even knew they were under attack. Marcus's explosives turned Voth hover tanks into smoldering wrecks. After days of grueling combat and tense stealth, they finally reached the research facility. It was a massive structure of black metal and pulsing energy field, nestled in a clearing that had been burned into the heart of the rainforest. Infiltrating the facility was no easy task, but Vincent's team was up to the challenge. They snuck past automated security systems and Voth guards, making their way deeper into the complex. What they found at the center of the facility chilled them to the bone. It was a mind control device, a pulsing mass of technology and organic components that seemed to writhe with a malevolent intelligence. Vincent realized with horror that this machine was designed to enslave the human race, to turn them into mindless puppets of the Voth Empire. There was only one thing to do. Marcus set to work, rigging the device with every scrap of explosive he had left. But as the charges were set, disaster struck. A Voth patrol stumbled upon their position, and all hell broke loose. In the chaos of the firefight, Marcus was hit. Vincent watched in horror as his friend was dragged away by the Voth, even as Maria and the others laid down covering fire. There was no time to mount a rescue. The explosives were set and the facility was about to blow. Vincent gave the order to evacuate, his heart heavy with the knowledge that he was leaving a man behind. The team barely made it out before the facility exploded, the shockwave knocking them off their feet. As the smoke cleared, Vincent stood tall, his face etched with grim resolve. He would rescue Marcus, no matter the cost. Miles away, in the command center of the Earth Defense Force, Admiral Blackwell stared at the mysterious transmission that had just come through. Detailed schematics of the VIS Dominator, the Voth flagship, scrolled across the screen, revealing a critical weakness in the alien vessel's shielding system. Blackwell leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. This information could change everything, could give humanity the edge they so desperately needed. But who had sent it, and why? He had no time to ponder the question. Alarms blared throughout the command center as a new contact appeared on the sensor screens. It was a Voth stealth ship, hanging in orbit like a predator waiting to strike. Blackwell felt a chill run down his spine. Something was happening, something that could tilt the balance of the war in ways he couldn't yet foresee. And as he stared at the mysterious ship, he couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. Vincent clenched his jaw as he stood before a group of hardened resistance fighters in the sewers beneath the ruins of Los Angeles. The stench of decay and desperation hung heavy in the air, but Vincent remained focused on his mission, rescuing Marcus from the Voth prison camp. "All right, listen up," Vincent said, his voice echoing off the damp concrete walls. "We've got one shot at this. Miguel, you and your team will create a diversion at the south entrance, draw their fire and keep them occupied. Maria, you're with me. We'll infiltrate from the north and locate Marcus." Miguel Ramirez, a former gang leader with a scar running down his left cheek, nodded grimly. "We'll give 'em hell, Vincent. Those scaly bastards won't know what hit 'em." As the resistance fighters moved into position, Vincent and Maria made their way through the labyrinthine tunnels, guided by Miguel's intricate knowledge of the city's underbelly. They emerged near the prison camp's perimeter, the sounds of gunfire and explosions already erupting in the distance as Miguel's team engaged the Voth guards. Vincent and Maria slipped past the distracted sentries, their weapons at the ready. They moved swiftly through the rows of makeshift cells, searching for any sign of Marcus. The air was thick with the stench of human suffering and Voth cruelty. Suddenly, a familiar voice called out from a nearby cell. "Vincent, is that you?" Vincent rushed over, relief washing over him as he saw Marcus's battered but determined face. "We're getting you out of here," Vincent said, blasting the lock off the cell door with his plasma rifle. As they freed Marcus and dozens of other prisoners, the sounds of fighting grew closer. Miguel's team was being pushed back, the Voth guards closing in. Vincent knew they had to move fast. Leading the prisoners through the winding tunnels, Vincent and Maria fought off pursuing Voth warriors, their weapons flashing in the dimly lit passages. The ground shook as explosions rocked the surface, a testament to the Resistance's unyielding spirit. In the chaos of their escape, Vincent overheard a pair of Voth guards speaking in hushed tones. "The Emperor's meeting with the generals on the Dominator. Security will be tight, but if the humans learn of it—" Vincent's eyes widened. This could be their chance to strike at the heart of the Voth leadership. If they could take out Emperor Izar and his top brass, it might just turn the tide of the war. As they emerged from the tunnels, the ragtag group of resistance fighters and former prisoners stood united, ready to continue the fight. Vincent knew that their victory here was just the beginning. Miles above the Earth, Admiral Blackwell pored over the schematics of the VIS Dominator, a plan forming in his mind. The mysterious transmission had revealed a critical weakness in the flagship's defenses, and Blackwell was determined to exploit it. "Sir, the prototype is ready," a young officer reported, saluting crisply. Blackwell nodded. "Good. Prepare a shuttle for launch. Vincent and his team are going to need every advantage we can give them." In a secure hangar bay, a repurposed space shuttle sat ready, a massive EMP cannon mounted to its hull. The weapon, based on reverse-engineered Voth technology, was humanity's best hope of disabling the Dominator's shields and weapon systems. As Vincent and his team boarded the shuttle, they knew that the fate of the Earth rested on their shoulders. The launch was smooth, the shuttle rocketing into the void of space. But as they approached the VIS Dominator's coordinates, a sleek Voth stealth ship materialized before them, its weapons already charging. The dogfight was intense, the shuttle weaving and dodging as Vincent's team fought to outmaneuver their alien foe. Plasma bolts crisscrossed the void, the shuttle's hull groaning under the strain of the assault. With a final desperate salvo, they managed to destroy the Voth ship, but not before sustaining heavy damage. Alarms blared throughout the shuttle, systems failing one by one. Vincent knew they had only one chance. "We're going to ram the EMP cannon into the Dominator's main reactor," Vincent declared, his voice steady despite the dire situation. "It's the only way." His team nodded solemnly, understanding the gravity of their mission. As the shuttle hurtled towards the massive Voth flagship, Vincent steadied himself for the impact, knowing that this could be the end. But if it meant saving the Earth and the human race, it would be a sacrifice worth making. The shuttle plunged towards the VIS Dominator, the EMP cannon glowing with an eerie blue light. Vincent closed his eyes, bracing himself for the moment of truth. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, and he was ready to meet it head-on. The shuttle shuddered violently as a barrage of plasma bolts slammed into its hull. Warning lights flashed red and alarms blared, the acrid stench of burnt circuitry filling the air. Vincent gripped the controls, fighting to keep the craft steady as it hurtled towards the looming mass of the VIS Dominator. "Shields down to 15%, Maria shouted over the chaos, her fingers flying across the tactical console. "That last hit took out our port engine." Vincent gritted his teeth, his knuckles white on the controls. They were so close, the Voth flagship growing larger by the second in the view screen. But with their engines crippled and shields failing, he knew they'd never make it. Not in one piece. He glanced back at his team, seeing the grim determination etched on their faces. They all knew what had to be done. "Divert all power to the EMP cannon," Vincent ordered, his voice steady despite the desperation of their situation. "We're going to detonate it manually." Marcus nodded, his hands already dancing across the engineering console. "Overriding safety protocols, cannon primed and ready." Vincent took a deep breath, meeting each of his team members' eyes in turn. "It's been an honor serving with you all. Let's give these scaly bastards a send-off they won't forget." As one, they placed their hands on the glowing detonator button, their gazes locked on the VIS Dominator as it filled the view screen. "For Earth," Vincent whispered. The EMP cannon pulsed with blinding blue-white light before exploding in a silent burst of electromagnetic energy. The shockwaves slammed into the Voth stealth ships, their shields flickering and dying, systems shorting out in a cascade of sparks and smoke. The stricken craft spun out of control, colliding with each other in a fiery explosion that lit up the void of space. But the EMP blast didn't stop there. It washed over the VIS Dominator like a tidal wave, the mighty flagship's shields shimmering and failing under the onslaught. Explosions blossomed across its hull as critical systems overloaded, leaving gaping wounds in the ship's armored hide. On the bridge of the UES Avenger, Admiral Blackwell watched in awe as the Voth flagship reeled from the blast. Vincent's sacrifice had given them the opening they needed. A swarm of EDF fighters and bombers raced towards the stricken Voth flagship, their weapons blazing. Missiles and plasma bolts hammered into the Dominator's hull, exploiting the weaknesses left by the EMP blast. The Voth crew fought back desperately, their cannons spitting streams of superheated plasma that vaporized EDF ships in blossoms of flame. But it was a losing battle. With each passing moment, more and more of the Dominator's systems failed, its once mighty shields now nothing more than flickering ghosts. The EDF fleet pressed their advantage, pouring fire into the flagship's vital systems. Just as it seemed victory was at hand, a new contact appeared on the Avengers' sensors. Another Voth stealth ship, sliding out of the shadows like a predator stalking its prey. Blackwell tensed, expecting the ship to join the fray against them. But to his shock, the stealth ship opened fire on the VIS Dominator, its weapons tearing into the flagship's exposed flank. The Voth vessel shuddered under the unexpected assault, its hull buckled and broken. "Admiral Blackwell, this is Commander Zora of the Voth Rebellion." A female voice, flanged and alien, crackled over the comm. "We stand with you against Emperor Izar's tyranny. The Dominator's main reactor is vulnerable. Hit it with everything you've got." Blackwell wasted no time, ordering a full salvo of the Avengers' most powerful missiles. The projectiles streaked through space, slamming into the Dominator's reactor housing in a blinding flash of light. The Voth flagship convulsed as secondary explosions tore through its hull, the reactor going critical. Escape pods jettisoned from the dying ship, Emperor Izar's personal craft among them. But there would be no escape for the tyrant. A small battered craft, scorched and pitted by battle, intercepted the Emperor's pod. Its hatch slid open, revealing a familiar figure in battle-scarred armor. Vincent had survived, and he had a score to settle with Emperor Izar. Vincent slammed Emperor Izar against the wall of the interrogation room, his face inches from the Voth leader's scaly visage. "Why are you here, Izar? What's your endgame?" Izar laughed, a rasping, guttural sound that echoed off the metal walls. "You think capturing me changes anything, human? My imprisonment is but a minor inconvenience in the grand scheme of things." Vincent's grip tightened, his knuckles turning white. "You're not leaving this room until you give me answers." The interrogation dragged on for hours, with Vincent and his team grilling Izar relentlessly, but the Voth Emperor remained tight-lipped, his serpentine eyes glinting with malice. Suddenly alarms blared throughout the facility. Vincent whirled around as the door burst open, revealing a Voth warrior in EDF armor, a sleeper agent. The agent fired his plasma rifle, striking Vincent's men before they could react. In the chaos, Izar broke free, snatching a weapon from a fallen guard. Vincent dove for cover as plasma bolts sizzled overhead. He returned fire, his bullets sparking off the agent's armor. The Voth warrior grabbed Izar, pulling him towards a hidden teleportation device. As the two Voth stepped onto the platform, Vincent lunged forward, slamming a tracking device onto Izar's armor. The Emperor vanished in a flash of light, his mocking laughter echoing in Vincent's ears. The tracking device led the EDF to the red sands of Mars, where they discovered a hidden Voth base. Scans revealed the presence of Etherium, a rare and powerful element that had been fueling the Voth's advanced technology. Vincent, Zora, and a team of EDF soldiers breached the base's perimeter, plasma rifles at the ready, but the Voth were waiting for them. Giant mech suits powered by glowing Etherium cores stomped forward, their heavy cannons spewing death. Soldiers on both sides fell, their blood staining the Martian soil. Zora leaped onto one of the mechs, ripping open its control panel with her bare claws. She rewired the suit's systems, turning its weapons against its Voth masters. Vincent and his team pushed deeper into the base, fighting hand-to-hand with Voth warriors in the cramped corridors. They planted explosives at key structural points, setting the charges to destroy the mining facility. As the bombs detonated, the base collapsed in on itself, burying the Etherium mines under tons of rubble. Voth officers surrendered, but Emperor Izar was nowhere to be found. Searching the ruins, Vincent uncovered a chilling truth. The Voth invasion of Earth was merely the beginning of a galactic conquest, a campaign that had enslaved countless worlds. In the wake of the shocking revelation about the true scope of the Voth threat, the Earth Defense Force sprang into action. Scientists and engineers worked around the clock, reverse engineering the captured Voth teleportation technology and integrating it into a new fleet of advanced warships. These vessels, sleek and deadly, were powered by the same Ethereum that had given the Voth such a significant advantage. Commander Vincent Kennedy, his battle-hardened features set with determination, stood on the bridge of the EDF Retribution, the flagship of this new fleet. His strike team, hand-picked for their skills and bravery, stood ready at his side. Zora, her Voth heritage now a valuable asset, pored over the schematics of the Voth military installation they were about to infiltrate. Marcus, his cybernetic arm, a testament to the sacrifices he had made, checked and rechecked his weapons. Maria, silent and focused, calibrated her sniper rifle with practiced precision. As the fleet emerged from the shimmering portal above Vothar Prime, Vincent felt a surge of adrenaline. This was it, the chance to strike at the heart of the Voth Empire, to gather the intelligence they so desperately needed. The strike team, accompanied by a squad of elite EDF soldiers, materialized inside the Voth installation, their weapons raised and ready. They moved swiftly through the dark metallic corridors, Zora's knowledge of Voth systems guiding them past security measures and patrols. Deep within the bowels of the facility, they discovered a cavernous laboratory, filled with pulsing machinery and glowing Ethereum conduits. In the center, suspended in a crackling energy field, was a device that made Vincent's blood run cold. It was a weapon, a monstrosity capable of harnessing the destructive power of black holes themselves. As Zora and Marcus worked frantically to download the weapon's schematics and sabotage the Voth's research, alarms began to blare. Vincent and Maria took up defensive positions, their weapons spitting plasma at the Voth soldiers pouring into the lab. The team fought their way out of the facility, the stolen data secured, the sabotaged equipment erupting into flames behind them. But as they reached the extraction point, a figure emerged from the smoke and chaos. Emperor Izar, his body twisted and enhanced with Ethereum-powered cybernetics. Vincent charged forward, engaging the Emperor in a brutal hand-to-hand battle. Izar was strong, his mechanical limbs fueled by an unnatural power, but Vincent was fueled by something stronger, the desire to protect his world, his species. With a final desperate blow, Vincent brought the Emperor to his knees. As Izar's life ebbed away, he whispered a final, chilling revelation. The Voth's true goal, the artifact they sought, hidden somewhere among the stars. Vincent and his team barely managed to escape as the installation exploded behind them, the shockwave rippling through the Voth's planetary defenses. With Izar dead and the Voth military thrown into disarray, they raced back to the waiting fleet, the stolen data and the Emperor's final words weighing heavily on their minds. As the EDF ships leaped back into the shimmering portals, Vincent knew that their fight was far from over. The Voth's secret was out, and now it was a race against time to find this mysterious artifact before the Voth could regroup and claim it for themselves. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, and Vincent swore that he would not rest until the threat was ended once and for all. Vincent and his battle-hardened team returned to Earth, their minds still reeling from the shocking revelations of their last mission. As they pored over the data they had gathered, a startling discovery emerged. The artifact Emperor Izar had spoken of was no mere trinket. It was the Nexus, an ancient device created by the long-extinct progenitors. This alien race, once the most advanced in the galaxy, had vanished eons ago, leaving behind only scattered ruins and cryptic legends. The Nexus, according to the fragments of information they pieced together, held the power to manipulate space and time itself. In the wrong hands, it could be used to reshape the very fabric of reality, bending the universe to the whims of its wielder. The EDF leadership, grasping the enormity of the threat, wasted no time in launching a massive search operation. Every available ship, every trained crew was dispatched to scour the galaxy for signs of the Nexus. Vincent and his team, armed with ancient star charts and decoded alien texts, led the charge. Their search took them to the farthest reaches of the galaxy, to stars that had never before been charted by human eyes. They followed the trail of clues, each one leading them closer to their ultimate goal. Finally, on a remote and uncharted world at the very edge of the galactic rim, they found what they had been seeking. The planet was a desolate wasteland, its surface scarred by the ravages of time and some ancient cataclysm. But amid the ruins of a long-dead civilization, they discovered the remains of a progenitor city. The city was a marvel of alien architecture, its towering spires and vast domes glittering beneath the harsh light of the planet's twin suns. But it was also a place of danger, its streets and corridors filled with the remnants of advanced technology and deadly traps left behind by its former inhabitants. As Vincent and his team picked their way through the ruins, their weapons at the ready, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Their instincts proved correct when, without warning, they were ambushed by a heavily armed Voth strike force. Leading the charge was a figure Vincent had never seen before, a massive Voth warrior clad in an Ethereum-powered battlesuit, his eyes glinting with malice. This, Vincent realized with a sinking feeling, must be Kaidos, the ruthless warlord who had seized control of a rogue faction within the Voth Empire. Kaidos and his soldiers attacked with a ferocity that stunned even Vincent's battle-hardened team. The air crackled with the discharge of plasma weapons and the thunder of explosions as the two sides clashed amid the ruins of the progenitor city. In the chaos of the battle, Vincent found himself separated from his comrades, alone in a labyrinth of alien corridors. He fought his way through the Voth warriors, his rifle spitting fire, his EDF exoskeleton absorbing the worst of the enemy's blows. And then, in a vast chamber at the heart of the city, he came face to face with Kaidos himself. The Voth warlord towered over him, his battlesuit glowing with the power of Ethereum. In his hand, he held a crackling energy blade, its edge honed to a molecule's width. Vincent knew he was outmatched, but he refused to back down. He activated his own suit's combat systems and charged forward, his movements a blur of speed and precision. The two warriors clashed in a storm of sparks and flashing blades, their suits straining against each other's strength. But Kaidos was too strong, his suit's power too great. With a triumphant roar, he knocked Vincent to the ground, his blade poised for the killing blow. Vincent closed his eyes, preparing for the end. But the blow never came. Instead, there was a flash of light, a crackling of energy and a cry of pain from Kaidos. Vincent's eyes snapped open to see Zora standing over him, her own suit glowing with an unearthly light. She had thrown herself between Vincent and Kaidos, taking the fatal strike meant for her human comrade. As Zora fell, her life ebbing away, Vincent surged to his feet, renewed strength flowing through his veins. He lashed out with a flurry of blows, his suit's systems pushed to their limits. Kaidos reeled back, his armor cracking beneath the onslaught. With a final, desperate thrust, Vincent drove his blade through the warlord's chest, piercing his heart. Kaidos fell, his eyes wide with shock and disbelief. Around them, the battle was turning. The Voth forces, seeing their leader fall, began to retreat, fleeing back to their ships. Vincent's team, battered but unbroken, emerged from the ruins to stand at his side. Together they pushed deeper into the city, following the ancient maps that had led them here. And there, in a chamber untouched by the ravages of time, they found the Nexus. It was a device unlike anything they had ever seen, a complex lattice of crystalline circuitry and pulsing energy fields. It hummed with power, a low thrumming that seemed to resonate in their bones. Vincent stepped forward, his hand outstretched. The Nexus seemed to call to him, whispering of power and possibility, but as his fingers brushed its surface, he hesitated. The Nexus was a tool of immense power, but it was also a thing of great danger. Vincent could feel the weight of that power, the responsibility that came with wielding it. And in that moment, he realized that activating the device could have consequences that none of them could foresee. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, and the decision rested on Vincent's shoulders. The Nexus loomed before him, its secrets waiting to be unlocked. But at what cost? Vincent and his team exchanged glances, the weight of the moment heavy upon them. The fate of not just Earth but the entire galaxy rested on their next move. Marcus, his face grim, spoke up first. "We can't let the Voth get their hands on this. If they control the Nexus, it's game over for everyone." Maria nodded, her sniper rifle still clutched tightly. "But can we really take that power for ourselves? Look what it did to the progenitors. It destroyed them." Vincent stared at the device, his mind racing. The Nexus whispered to him promises of power and conquest. With it, he could reshape the galaxy, bend reality to his will. No one, not the Voth, not any other threat, would dare stand against Earth. But at what cost? The power to manipulate space and time, it was too much for anyone being to wield. The temptation, the corruption, would be too great. Even with the best of intentions, the risk of misuse, of catastrophe, was too high. Vincent stepped back, his decision made. "We can't use it, we have to destroy it." His team looked at him, surprise and uncertainty in their eyes, but one by one they nodded. They trusted Vincent, trusted his judgment. Marcus set to work, rigging the chamber with every bit of explosive they had left. They had to be sure, had to reduce the Nexus to atoms so it could never be used by anyone. As the charges were set, Vincent took one last look at the device. It was beautiful in a way, a marvel of ancient technology and power, but it was also a curse, a temptation that had to be resisted. They fled the chamber, racing through the ruins of the city as the timer ticked down. Behind them the Nexus pulsed and glowed, as if aware of its impending doom. They barely made it to their ship before the explosions began, the ground shaking beneath their feet. The progenitor city collapsed in on itself, burying the Nexus and all its secrets beneath a mountain of rubble. As they watched from orbit, the planet's surface still glowing from the heat of the blasts, Vincent felt a sense of grim satisfaction. They had won, not just against the Voth, but against the temptation of ultimate power. Earth and the galaxy was safe. But even as they celebrated, Vincent couldn't shake the feeling that their troubles were far from over. The Voth had been defeated, but there would always be others, other threats waiting in the darkness of space. Earth would need defenders, now more than ever. Vincent looked around at his team, at the brave men and women who had fought and bled at his side. They were the first, he realized, the beginning of something new, a force that would stand against the darkness, that would protect humanity no matter the cost. The EDF had been forged in the crucible of war, tempered by the sacrifices of heroes like Zora. Now it would become something more, a beacon of hope, a shield against the terrors of the universe. Vincent squared his shoulders, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The fight was far from over, but they would face it together. For Earth, for humanity, they would stand. Vincent stared at the Nexus, his mind racing with the implications of its power. Marcus and Maria exchanged uneasy glances, the weight of the decision heavy on their shoulders. Suddenly the comm unit on Vincent's wrist crackled to life. "Commander Kennedy, this is EDF Command. We have an urgent situation." Vincent's brow furrowed as he listened to the message, his face growing pale. "Understood, Command. We're on our way." He turned to his team, his expression grim. "The Voth have launched a massive counterattack. They've got a new emperor, and he's thrown everything they've got at Earth. Ethereum-powered warships, genetically engineered super soldiers. Our defenses are crumbling." Maria's eyes widened. "What do we do?" Vincent looked back at the Nexus, a steely resolve settling over him. "We end this war once and for all." He strode forward, his hand hovering over the Nexus's control panel. Marcus grabbed his arm. "Wait, Vincent. We don't know what this thing will do. It's too risky." Vincent shook his head. "It's our only chance. If we don't act now, Earth will fall." With a deep breath, he activated the Nexus. The device hummed to life, energy pulsing through its crystalline structure. A massive wormhole tore open in the fabric of space, its swirling vortex appearing in the heart of the Voth fleet. The alien ships, caught off guard, were sucked into the rift, disappearing into the swirling maelstrom. The Voth soldiers on the ground were pulled in next, their screams echoing through the comms as they vanished into the parallel dimension. But something was wrong. The wormhole wasn't stopping. It grew larger, its gravitational pull increasing with every passing second. Chunks of the planet's surface began to break away, drawn into the vortex. Vincent's eyes widened in horror. It's unstable, the wormhole. It's going to consume everything. He turned to his team, his voice urgent. Get to the ship, evacuate the planet now. Vincent gripped his friend's shoulder. You have to. Someone needs to destroy the Nexus, or the wormhole will destroy the entire galaxy. I'm the only one who can do it. Tears in her eyes, Maria nodded. He's right, Marcus, we have to go. Reluctantly, Marcus and the others raced back to the ship, leaving Vincent alone in the progenitor city. He turned back to the Nexus, the wormhole growing ever larger in the sky above. Drawing his weapon, Vincent fought his way through the hordes of Voth soldiers still on the planet, their weapons' fire ricocheting off his armor. The ground shook beneath his feet, buildings crumbling as the wormhole's gravitational pull tore them apart. Finally, he reached the Nexus. The device was pulsing with energy, its power core overloading. Vincent knew what he had to do. With a final prayer, he aimed his weapon at the core and fired. The explosion was blinding, a massive burst of energy that consumed Vincent and the entire progenitor city. The shock wave ripped through the planet, the wormhole collapsing in on itself. In an instant, the Voth fleet was gone, destroyed by the implosion of the rift. The war was over. But the cost had been high. On Earth, the EDF and the remaining Voth factions agreed to a tenuous peace, the scars of the conflict running deep. Millions had died, cities lay in ruins, and the infrastructure of the planet would take decades to rebuild. Marcus, now the leader of the EDF, vowed to honor Vincent's sacrifice. They would rebuild stronger than before, ready to face any threat that might come their way. At a small memorial service, Maria and a recovering Zora stood with a group of EDF soldiers, their heads bowed in grief. They had lost a friend, a leader, a hero. But they would not let his sacrifice be in vain. They would carry on his legacy, protecting the Earth and the galaxy from whatever dangers lay ahead. For they knew, as Vincent had, that the price of peace was eternal vigilance. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.